This is Dan Duran, and I'm the CTO of Rhino Cybersecurity. And I have here my co-star, Andrew Somerton. How are you, Andrew? He is the CEO of Rhino Cybersecurity. Andrew Somerton.
Hey, Dan, how are you, buddy? Good to be back, guys. We missed you all last week. We had a wonderful little getaway, but we were not available, but we're happy to be back.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? We don't have Gladstone working the dials on the background, so
We
I'm going
miss
to
you, Gladstone.
Gladstone, he's taking his vacations, 15 days of vacations. Oh, so relaxing. I hope you're watching this show or else you're fired. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so today we're going to talk about small businesses and cybersecurity, like the best pro tips from the cybersecurity experts here at Rhino Cybersecurity on what you need to do to protect your systems and your business from attacks. And they're happening. They're happening all over the place, everywhere. And I have a couple of clips, actually 4 clips that I want to show you. That is very, very important for any small company. And when we talk about, and we were talking about this, Andrew, right? When we talk about small companies, we're talking about 1 to 99 employees, right? So you can be like a very small company, like a consultant that's making $50,000-$60,000 a year, or you can be, 90 employee strong company making substantial amount of money, right? So the spectrum is very big. So who do we have online here? We have a few people. We have Tamara, and yeah, she says, "Yay, Friday! Hello, Dream Team."
Hey, Tamara.
We have also Adrian Perez. Hello, guys. Hello, Adrian. How are you? We have Sonia Castillo. Good afternoon. Happy Friday to you. Sean is there too. Greetings and salutations to you too. We have Shangiz.
Shangiz is here. Hey, yes. Shangiz. Nice to have you.
Nice to have you listening to our show. Happy Friday. How are you guys? I am happy to be here again. I hope you had a really good vacation in Egypt. So Shangiz was in Egypt, I think last week. And I see the pictures that he posted. Amazing pictures, man. So jealous. I wish I could go to Egypt. And then we have Oscar. We have Kevin, Gabriela, Diego. So our usual fans, thank you for participating and being here today. We're gonna be talking about cybersecurity for small businesses. What you need to do to protect yourself.
Dan, I think it's really important that you reiterate what you said. I mean, because cybersecurity is such a huge concern, and the perception when we say small business and medium-sized business and large businesses, I mean, you're so right. And I think the perception of people out there, and they identify a small business, I think that's the mom and pop shops and stuff. But as you said, it can be 1 person to 50 to 99 people, and a mid-sized business is 100 to 500, and a large is 500 plus. There's a very small percentage of businesses out there with 500 plus employees, and then again from 100 to 500. The global economy is really driven on small businesses, and a lot of small businesses are being highly targeted for cyber criminals and cyber attacks. And that's why this is so important, and for you to be putting that in perspective. We at Rhino Cybersecurity, we take care of clients that 2 and 3, probably our smallest customers 4 or 5 employees, but right up to hundreds of employees. But the small businesses are the ones that are really highly at risk right now, and they're the ones who need to be educated and informed.
Small businesses in North America, like Canada and the United States, it is the heart of our economy. Over 90% of all businesses are small businesses, right? 1 to 99 employees. There is, of course, very large businesses out there that make a lot of money, but it's a very, very far and few in between, right? And in the between, we have the medium-sized businesses, but 90% is small-sized business. And I'm talking about your pizza shops. I'm talking about your construction companies, your like the real estate companies, and it's quite a large number. And
architects, the lawyers, all like astronomical. And what's I think what's really really important to understand is the small businesses, as you mentioned, drive the economy. But small businesses are what help employ individuals. that basically they're always struggling to get ahead, to advance. They're working hard to gain new clients, build that trust with clients,
Yes.
bring more money into their business so they have cash flow. Small businesses are always at the cusp of growing and changing and adapting. And so what a lot of people don't see is, especially behind the scenes with small businesses, they're not, even if you have 50, 60, 70 employees and they, all things seem to be really, really great, cash flow could be, 1 month they're doing really, really well. The next month they're not doing
Yes.
as well. Then they're doing really, really well. So cyber attacks and cyber concerns are critical, because if it's done at the wrong time, or you're affected at the wrong time, it could be, catastrophic to the success of your business and the growth or the survival of your business. And
Yes.
that's not a fear factor. It's a reality. I
Well,
mean, as a small to mid-sized business, we're always trying to protect ourselves and to grow. And again, it's perception is one thing. Reality as a small business owner is another thing on a regular basis. So it's important to
yes.
understand that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you're out there, make sure you subscribe to our channel, youtube.com/GetCyber. That's our main channel. And I have 3 cases, like case studies for you. The first one, why? Why do we need to have or to be secure? The first one is money loss. Okay. So imagine you wake up this morning, right? One morning you wake up and your bank account is completely drained. You have no money in your bank account, either your checking account, your credit card, your line of credit for your business is gone, and you lose thousands of dollars. So that's the first case. The first case that I have, and let me just show you real quick a clip. And this is a bit aged, but it is very impactful. This person here, poor guy, he lost $1.2 million pretty much overnight, right? So let's have a listen. I'm gonna play a very, very small clip because I don't want YouTube to ding me on this and then remove my video in there. So listen to this.
I think in a matter of hours, $1.2 million drained from his bank account. Was actually luckily able to get some of that back. And here with more details is Sarah Newman. Sarah, thanks for joining us.
$1.2 million, right? So he got some of the money back, but the hackers were able to get into his financial information, right? So the money loss is a huge concern for a small business. You said it, Andrew. Sometimes you have good months, you're making a lot of money, and everybody's happy. You're happy, and some other months you're scraping the bottom of the barrel, right?
Exactly.
So,
Absolutely.
and that's how we deal. We're small businesses as well in Rhino Cybersecurity, and we know how it is, how hard it is. And not only that, but do you have time for cybersecurity? I mean, you as a small entrepreneur, a small business, you're always wearing so many hats: the marketing hat, the sales hat, the operations hat, the financial hat. Like, you have no time for cybersecurity or IT, but it is one of those things that you gotta do so you don't lose money like this, right? The other thing that I want to point out that is very, very important: you would think that the bank, if somebody steals money from your bank account, the bank will reimburse you for that money, like even credit cards and line of credits that the money doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the bank. But that is not the case. So I have another quick clipping here, and again, I'm just gonna probably show you like a couple of seconds, or else we'll get dinged on what's happening.
Responsibility until our go public team not take any responsibility. Now, when he complained to the bank, it would not take any responsibility until.
So this guy, and this was a small sum of money. It was like $5,000. This happened in 2019, right? But then, luckily, CBC got involved because he complained to the CBC, and then they make this public, and the bank went back and said, "Okay, we'll give you the money." But this is very far in between. Like, it's very few, right? So
the big thing is, in the court of law, you're innocent until proven guilty, right? Unfortunately, with this, in a lot of cases, you're guilty until proven innocent. You got to prove either through another organization, through the police, that it was a fraudulent act, that you were hacked, or that it was, maliciously taken from your account, and then and only then will they basically issue it back to you. It's not like you walk in and say someone stole $1,000 from me, and I have firsthand experience. And they just give it back to you. There has to be a chain of events that happen before they actually do that. So you're left holding, if you have a payment coming out tomorrow and they hacked you yesterday and you're not going to get your money back for a month because you got to prove innocence.
A month? Are you kidding me?
Whatever, however long, 6 months, whatever.
6 months. The paper trail that you have to, prove and the going back and forth. If you don't have cyber insurance, for example, it really affects you. Like you're going to be out of in the dark for a few months until you are able to recover some of your losses, exactly. Right?
And that's back to small businesses, trials and tribulations, highs and lows and months. You out there, business owners, what that feels like sometimes. So imagine all of a sudden someone comes and takes 10, 20, 30, 40% of your money from your account or ties it up. And then you don't see it for, as to Dan's point, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months. What is that going to do to your operations?
Exactly. You don't make payroll, right? And then what happens? You can actually go down, right? Absolutely. And your business can go down. So that's first case scenario. Now, let's suppose you wake up in the morning. Sorry, this is not fear mongering, but this is something that is really
exactly.
Okay, I'm not trying to say, but this is happening left, right, and center. And as a cybersecurity company, we hear that, we get the calls from people saying, my company was ransomware, or my data was stolen, or we lost a lot of money. What can you guys do to help us? And these are small companies, and our heart breaks every time we get one of those calls.
Well,
right?
and that's what's so important here. It's we've said this over and over and over again, and this show was about education and kind of in a fun way and an enlightening way, but also very much in a serious way. And it's all about being proactive. And there's the means are out there with organizations like Rhino and other organizations that have the ability to help protect you in a cost-effective way. And you can't wait. You just can't wait to be proactive. You're always being reactive. You need to be proactive and put little steps in place to help protect you so this doesn't happen, or at least mitigate risk. That's the big thing, right?
Yes.
And that's what this is all about. It's not about putting fear into everybody. It's about bringing awareness so people, act on it immediately.
Yes.
It's critical.
Yeah. So second case, let's say you woke up one morning and then you go to work on your computer, and then all of a sudden, your computer is not accessible. It's encrypted. Every data piece in your computer, and not just on your computer, but all of your employees, and then your servers, and everything you touch is encrypted, and you don't have access to that information. And then there's a little note that says, if you want access to your data, you need to go into the, an Onion website and then chat with one of our ransomware representatives to get the encryption key, where they're going to say, you know what, you guys, we have you figure out you're like 50 employees, so you can pay, $70,000, and then you negotiate that, and then this is, again, it's super crazy, and it's something that is happening. I mean, this article here, ransomware attacks are on the rise, and I think it's over 20% year over year in the last 5 years or 4 years, I think, that has risen. And in terms of ransomware for small businesses, the main thing is, if you have a large business, you have a lot of money, you have budget, you can do cybersecurity. So for an attacker to be able to ransomware a big company, it's really hard. It takes months sometimes, right? If you have really good cybersecurity. But for a small business, it's relatively easy. So hackers will, go into small companies, even though the paycheck they're going to get is smaller, but they could do it in a day, right? They can ransomware a company very, very easily, a small company. So they're going after the small companies, and that's the key that you have to understand, right? So, so they're warning that ransomware attacks are being elevated. Now I have another case. So number 3, why you need to be secure, right? So the third one is data leak. And
trust and everything. Absolutely.
yeah, data leak is it's one of those things that you can a hacker can get into your business, your accounts, your Drive, for example, your Excel sheets on Microsoft or Google Docs and stuff like that, and steal names, addresses, email addresses, credit card information from your clients, right? And then you can get into some really bad legal stuff, right?
Well, you have the legality side of things, Dan, but also, I mean, think about a small business again. How hard it is to get a new client, to get new business, to build trust with new people, to have people do business with you. And if all of a
Yes.
sudden you're held ransom or you get a data leak, like you said here, and all of a sudden you lose that faith, you lose that confidence, people are going to be that much more weary to do business with you in the future. So not only are you potentially at risk for financial and everything else, but the data leak puts you at trust risk.
Yes.
And then as you're trying to build this trust with clients, and all of a sudden this happens to you, well, good luck, retaining or keeping those clients long term. It's not a good thing for sure.
Yeah. So Diego is asking here, do you have any statistics on the number of cyber attacks that small companies receive compared to large companies? And in 2021, it is estimated that 41% of small businesses have ever suffered cyber attacks reported to the authorities, right? Whereas that went up from 37% in 2019. 2021, 2022, I'm not sure, but it tends to be a very steep curve on the rise. And this is from IBC Canada. The main thing that you have to understand about small business cyber attacks is that it is increasing. It is increasing and it's happening over and over and over, and we hear everywhere, right? And different types of. So it is. That's a statistic. 41%.
And to that point, Dan, I remember a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, we did a show on ransomware as a service, and that just speaks volumes to that. A lot more people are out there doing it that may not have the skill set, but they have the ability to tap in to do and help companies ransomware. Yes. And I love this. What Shangiz has said.
He's saying many small businesses owners think that because they're small in terms of budget, hackers don't spend time on them. It is absolutely wrong. Oh my God. He hit it right on the nail, because you know what? The hackers are after the small businesses because it's easier for them. As I said before, low hanging fruit. You have no idea. We have some clients that are pretty big, and they have all kinds of cybersecurity measures in place and devices and technology. So for hackers to be able to attack those companies and infiltrate, it is possible, but it takes quite a bit, quite a long time for small businesses, because the hackers know that not secure. It's fairly straightforward, right? Especially if you don't take care of that. And the budget thing, that's the other thing, like budget. Oh, I don't have enough money to have technology or cybersecurity in place. But that's just basically a cop out, right? Because the budget is there and it's not as expensive as what you think. It takes time, obviously, but it's not as expensive as people think. And I don't know why people think that cybersecurity is extremely expensive to afford, right? So yeah. So yes, that's the third case. Thank you so much, Changiz and Diego, for those questions and comments in there. So
Sonia, Dan, before you jump onto another, Sonia has a question too, which I think it's relevant.
She asks, how do you respond if your company has been breached or experiences a cyber attack? How do you respond? Okay, so you know what? This is a good idea for a show in the future. On how to respond to cyber attacks, right?
It's actually
it's about protection. We want you to be protected, and we're giving you the tips to protect yourselves from cyber attacks. If something like that happens to you, the first thing that you gotta do, out of my head, it really depends on the attack that you're getting, right? So if it's a ransomware, go for your backups. Make sure that you have your information backed up and then be able to recover from that. If it's financial, Obviously, every time that happens, you need to report it to the authorities. I mean, there is the RCMP, there's the FBI in the states, as well as the local police. They will try to help you.
There's cyber units in Canada now too.
Cyber units, there is, and they're getting beefed up over the years too. So they're pretty good. Chances that you recover your stuff probably slim to none. Sometimes you're able to, but you have to report it. Right, you have to call the financial institutions if your money has been stolen. You have to contact the police, especially if there's data leaks. And some of the numbers that I show you in terms insurance company is if you have insurance, please get insurance. It's not that expensive. Get insurance. Make sure that you're insured because you can get your money back if you have insurance. Now, insurance is getting much harder nowadays.
It is.
The other thing that you need to be cognizant of is that I had a thought in my mind. Anyways, I'll come back. But I have we have another comment here. V Votics, he says, hope you are prepared and have backups you can restore. Absolutely, 100%. You have to have your backups, and that's one of the tips that we have. But it's not that hard, guys. It's not that hard. It takes time, but let's go on. We have a question from Oscar. I'll put it on in a bit. So sorry, what's
no, I was just going to say it's not that hard, but I mean, for some people, they probably perceive it as being very difficult, but there's hundreds of organizations, and I'm going to throw a plug into Rhino again that can help you with that. If you don't have an IT team, if you don't have an MSP, if you're not working with a cybersecurity team, just pick up the phone and ask them. There's so many organizations out there that can help you, can guide you to, how to do backups, what kind of services you need, what kind of protection you need, etc. Just ask the experts that are going to help you.
The first thing that we do when we have our system, which is Rhino ARM, so the ARM, it's basically assessment, remediation, and then management, right? So part of the management, if you go to our site, and I displayed right on the screen, rhino.io with a Y, Rhino with that Y, for an assessment is $600, right? $699, $700 for an assessment of a vulnerability assessment on your company, right? So that's how inexpensive it is to be able to determine whether you're a risk or not, right? So we're not talking about thousands and thousands of dollars in here. We're talking about $700 that you can definitely afford to be able to find all the vulnerabilities, all the stuff that's wrong with your company. The smart companies, what they do, and we had several clients, small businesses and nonprofit organizations. We also give discounts for nonprofits, by the way. I think it's 25% discount for any nonprofit that reaches out to us. The smart companies, what they do is they hire us with a vulnerability assessment for $700 and then probably like 10 hours of consulting. That's easy. So we go in, not very expensive. We do the consulting. We tell you what you need to do and how to solve the problems. And then we help you solve those problems and get you back on track.
And I think that's really important to say, Dan. I think, no matter who, if you reach out to Rhino or you reach out to any other organization, I think it's really, really important to understand one size doesn't fit all. So if you call an organization, it's like this, this big dollar figure to protect you and secure you, then I would shop around because, as Dan alludes to a lot of times, cybersecurity is like an onion, right? And it's all about layered security and it's about mitigating risk, not eliminating it, because you're never going to eliminate 100% of risk. So work with an organization that can identify your system and then basically give you recommendations to get you to somewhere that's affordable and protecting you along the way. Anyways, Shanzing has a really good, nice little tip here in regards to that question that we had.
Yeah, he says Verizon's DBIRD data breach investigation report is a very good tool for statistic figures for all types of attacks on businesses. Yeah, I didn't know that one. Okay, great. So if you just search on Google Verizon's DBIR, and you'll find that information. Thank you so much, Changiz, for that information. Okay, so let's get into the tips. Let's talk about the first step. And I think one of our listeners, V Botics, actually said that that's the first thing I would do, man. It's backup everything. Backup everything. Even if you have Acronis on your computer, on your servers, or Acronis is a backup service. There is so many VM. There's so many backup service providers out there. And you know how they say, oh yeah, you're supposed to have 3 or 4 backups and different types of backups and redundancy and isolation. People get really convoluted when they think about backups and how to do them and all of that, especially small business. Oh yeah, but what does that mean? Like incremental and this and that, and they get lost. Just backup. Just do it. Just get on it. Just do it. Even if it's one backup into the cloud, into your servers, buy a NAS. In Amazon, you can buy a NAS for $700 to be able to back up your data. A couple of things about the backups, of course, make sure that they're isolated so they have their own password, and it's a really strong password, hopefully a dual-factor authentication so hackers can't get into that stuff, and don't put them on the cloud. There's a lot of systems like NAS systems that you need to forward a port on your router on the public, and then you make that information public. That's not a good idea, right? So you have anybody can go into the URL or the IP address and see your portal for the NAS system. This is Synology or whatever, username and password. Don't do that. Keep it all inside, right? So backup everything, right? So let's see what we have in there. Okay, here are the questions. So Sonia says, how often should I create backups? All right, so every day, right? So like even if you have a time machine, for example, on your Mac, or you have a backup or using a tool, your data from your computer should be backed up every day. And I think my computer gets backed up every hour, right? My computer, right? But it really depends on servers. For example, we have clients that their data is so important that they have to back up the SQL databases every 5 minutes. Is doing a backup, right, on the cloud, and then the rest of the files and everything else once a day. But it should be at least once a day to back up everything. What other companies do, some of our clients that we've set up, is that when everybody's sleeping, they go home, with their family, and they're eating or whatever. At night, that's when the backups occur. So 2 a.m, backup triggers and starts doing the backup of the entire organization. The nice thing about backups is that you can do a full backup at the very beginning. So it's a lot of data, takes a while, sometimes days, but then it backs up incrementally, right? So it's just not too much information that's being backed up. And when I'm talking about backups, it's not just your data from your computer. So 365, for example, files, etc. It's also your servers, and it's also your websites. Don't forget about your websites. You need to back up your websites too, right? We have another question here, and it is, how much can you afford to lose?
I would do it. It's just basically answering a question that you just answered the same question. So thanks for that. It's just reiterated kind of what you were saying.
You were going to say that, weren't you? It really depends on how much are you, and that's a very, very good V-botics. That's called the risk appetite. What is your risk appetite? Which means how much are you willing to lose at the end? So that's the thing about cybersecurity. You can spend a lot of top dollars in cybersecurity, right? But it all comes down to the risk appetite. You might be able to forego some of stuff. So if hackers get into one of the servers, because the cost of mitigating that server is way too high, so you just isolate it and leave it there. You can't upgrade it. And if you lose it, you lose it. You're going to lose this amount of money, but the cost of fixing the problem and the cost associated with the loss of data, etc., it's much higher than the actual loss. So it's all about the appetite, the risk appetite, right? So really good questions, really good comments. Keep them coming along. We're Absolutely. Really happy that you're commenting and you're asking these questions. Number 2, very important. Keep your software up to date. And this is not very hard to do. And I know that people say, okay, you shouldn't have administrator, like logins or access on your endpoints, like your computers and stuff like that. But sometimes you can't get away from that because you don't have somebody centrally managing all of this stuff. It's you, yourself, or one person. So if you have admin access on your devices, make sure that you have different passwords, right? So you don't have the same password for everything. the main key about keeping your software up to date, it's very easy to do when it comes to your operating system. Mac OS as well as Windows, they have made it very easy for you to automate this process and do updates as they come along, right? And we all know about, I mean, I don't know if you guys, but every Tuesday is Microsoft Tuesdays, right? So every Tuesday, Microsoft comes with a new update when there is one. And you should be able to have the latest version of your operating system. I would also caution, because you already have your backups, if something goes wrong, let's say you update your system and then it goes wonky, you can always restore from your restoring point because you have your backups. So there you go. Updates and backups, they go hand in hand, right? So it's very important.
I think it's important too when you're working with an
Oh, Andrew, I think you're gone. Okay, so
organization, a third-party organization.
Oh, you were gone for a second. You said it's important when you work with an organization.
I'm sorry, when you work with an organization that part of their service is, doing regular backups for you, whether it be a developer or a hosting company or a cybersecurity organization. I think it's really important to ask that question. Do you do backups for us? Do you, do you do upgrades, not backups, but upgrades, et cetera, on the software? It's something very important to do.
Yes, and if you have any questions, just visit our site. It's displayed on the screen, rhino.io. And make sure you subscribe to this channel, YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com. If you are listening in LinkedIn or Facebook, because we are also broadcasting on those two channels. Go to GetCyber to subscribe as well. All right, so the next one. So, okay, so the thing about I want to mention something very important about backups. So the number one way that hackers get into your system is through phishing and social engineering. Number two is vulnerabilities, right? Just so you know. So vulnerabilities, you can find vulnerabilities on systems, and there's, like hackers, they sneak into your computer, your systems through different vulnerabilities, either on applications. So let's say, your Adobe or your Microsoft Office is out of date, or the actual system itself. So the operating system, your Windows 10 or 11, right? So it's the second most attacked vector, or the vector attack that the hackers do. And then number three, use a VPN, so a virtual private network. And everybody knows, most people know what a VPN is, right? So there's a lot of them out there, like Proton VPN, and NordVPN, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Make sure you don't use the free ones, okay? Because what the free ones do is, like, you're giving them your data, right? And you never know what's going to happen with that data. They can take that information and sell it to third parties for, I'm talking about user data. It's sell it to third parties for, marketing purposes and stuff. So I don't really trust that at all. I think I'd rather go with a paid, secure VPN service, right? So, so VBot access and test the backups. Do a test restore. Yeah. And I was talking with one of my clients about this yesterday, and I was mentioning about, okay, so what's your backup plan? And they have everything in place, and they're like, oh yeah, you know what? We had to restore like a few times already from the backup because things didn't go well on certain occasions. So I'm like, yeah, well, that is the restore. When the fire is happening, you need to restore, not the proactive restore that when things are not going bad. That's when you should do the restores to make sure that your backups are working, because when the storm comes, then you never know, right? But he was telling me that, we already tested, but because we had to restore stuff, right?
Not because I needed, not being proactive, reactive.
Yes. So using a VPN is very important, and make sure that you don't use your VPN on public places. I mean, sorry, you don't use Wi-Fi, and I think that's one of the pro tips in here. But VPN is very important because you are encrypting all information from point to point, right? So endpoint encryption, and that's how hackers won't be able to get into your data using a VPN. All right, very good questions. The next one is, and this one is very dear to you, Andrew, the human firewall tactics, right? So like spruced it up. But this we're talking about the employees, and why is it so important? Maybe you can give us a little a snapshot of why the human component is so important, Andrew.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the human component is the last line of defense, right? So education is critical to making sure people are aware. Again, you never want to instill fear in a culture, especially a cybersecurity culture, but you want to instill knowledge and confidence. And I think the human firewall tactic is basically educating your employees and yourself, very importantly, what to be looking for, what to aware. I just had a call today, and I'll give you an example. I mean, being in this industry, it makes you fearful of certain things and aware. So again, back to that fearful / awareness. I had a phone call, very legit. Something's happening in my life. Seems
God,
very legit. But I mean, people can do social engineering.
Yeah, for 2 seconons. Just when you want to say the most important part of your your.
So you could do, there's social engineering out there where they specifically target individuals and they get the information. So I didn't know if they had information. So I got a phone call. They started talking to me about all this personal stuff. I'm like, oh, wait a second. Who is this I'm speaking with? May I get your phone number? I'll phone back. I'll verify who you are and I'll call back. And it's just about being aware and educating yourself and educating your team. So it's a really, really important facet of protecting your business. There's no question, the human component.
Yes, absolutely. So 23% phishing attacks, 18.6% data breaches, 19.5% malware attacks. These are all from this year's latest stats on the last 6 months. And 42% of small businesses, as I mentioned before, right? So phishing attacks, right? Like number one, that's number one. And the thing about the phishing attacks is that it all can be averted and stopped only if your employees and yourself knew about it. That's the key, right? So, and then we have a comment from Catherine Gabriel here. Hello, Catherine. She says knowledge is power. Absolutely, 100%. If you know how to recognize social engineering, and they're getting harder and harder to detect, by the way, that bypasses your anti-spam and all of that stuff. If you're able to recognize them, you're not going to fall victim to social engineering, right? So hackers trying to steal your passwords, your credentials, hackers trying to deposit a Word document with a macro or an executable. So when you trigger that, it expands on your computer and on your network. Those kind of things are employee driven, right? So it used to be called that, that the human component is the weakest link.
Right.
And we say that it is the first line of defense, actually.
Yeah.
Right. So super important. Right. So we have another comment from V Botics. He says Know Before is I love it. Know Before is a great service. Absolutely. Highly endorse it. If you're a small company, the services that we do for cybersecurity awareness training. So we do have cybersecurity awareness training and attack simulations. It's very customized. Because,
exactly. I was going to say that.
Yeah. So what happens with Know Before and the other companies is that there's a lot of time that you need to manage this stuff, but it's also very sometimes it gets a little cookie cutter because once you detect the email, or the employees know what the email campaigns are, for example, on simulations, then they're going to be able to, oh yeah, okay, the next one that comes in, we know that is Know Before. So what we do in our company is we do what's called OSINT, so open source intelligence. We go in and we find out if you have a CFO, for example, we go and creep you in LinkedIn, Facebook, and see what kind of stuff you like, what like try to get little breadcrumbs of the CFO. And the attacks that we do are much targeted, right? Like a cyber criminal would, right? Those Nigerian emails back in the days, right? I don't remember.
A prince left you $500 million. Please click here.
Yeah, sometimes nowadays they are the cookie cutters emails that you get. People catch on, and the tools that are used for that type of attacks they also catch that and put it in the phishing spam folder and stuff like that. But attacks are getting more sophisticated, and that's where we come in. But if you are just starting and you want to do some cybersecurity training,
Absolutely,
know
great
before,
service. Great
great
service.
service to have.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? There's a lot of services out there, and that's one of them that's very good for cybersecurity awareness training. There's no question. What is
Yeah.
this
So
here?
so I posted an article. I think it was yesterday. Oh yeah, Dan, good article. Oh, so today's article. So he's talking about an article. Waddell. Cal Waddell. I hope I get it right. Dan, good article in today's paper on cybersecurity and hackers. Yes, it is serious and affects all sizes of companies. Yeah, if you don't mind putting the link in there, I'm going to put the link on the display if you put it in there, Carl. Absolutely. If you want to share that with us, then I can give it to our audience. All right. So moving on. So we talked about the VPN now, and then we talked about human firewall tactics. Now this one is super important, right? Antivirus protection and firewalls. I mean,
Sure.
firewalls nowadays. If you're a small business, right, and you have Rogers or Bell, and you have a Soho router, the thing that they give you, right, that comes with a modem, switch, in router, all in one place. I would caution you on that, right? Because you never know the security on those. We when we do penetration tests on small companies and vulnerability assessment, we find lots of vulnerabilities on those devices sometimes. I really question the security of those devices.
Yeah.
What I would do, it is go to Amazon, get, for example, a Ubiquiti or a router, get a good router, and get a switch in a firewall and spend $1,000, maybe $1,500 in a good equipment, and get rid of that or bridge it, right? You can bridge that and then install those pieces of equipment that are made for that purpose,
Exactly.
as opposed to having a Soho router. A lot of people say, "Oh, we just have Bell, and they just give us the Soho router." That is really good when you have when it's as a like a private family, and like domestic use. But for commercial
Yeah.
use, as a small company, I would definitely recommend stay away from that stuff and use what's needed, the actual stuff. Uh, and Yes, pen testing. He says, VBodic says pen testing. You need to check your firewall. Absolutely, and that's what we do, right? So, we do external pen testing from the outside in. So we hit your public IP address and to see what ports you have open, for example, what's active in there, and what vulnerabilities you have on your firewall from the outside in. Very important, right? And a lot of these Soho routers, Soho firewalls, they fail that test, right? So.
Right.
Encryption is old. They are still using TLS 1.0, 1.2, sorry, 1.0, 1.1, etc. So and then we do, of course, our internal pen testing from the inside out, and we discover more stuff. Right. So yeah, very, very important. So your firewall, and then the antivirus protection, and not all. Yeah, your Windows Defender is actually really decent, right? For a small company, if you can't afford an antivirus that is not, and then you wish to have Windows Defender, it is very good, as long as it's up to date all the time, and you keep on, like, keep it up to date. But if you want to go with the route of acquiring another antivirus or EDR, like the endpoint protection, and response, or XDR, so extended endpoint detection and response. Make sure you don't get a free antivirus. Okay, so if you go and get free Avast or free anything, it might not be as good as paying for the real thing, right? So
Right.
nowadays, even if you have Webroot, for a small business, or Bitdefender, I think they're pretty decent, right? And the nice thing about, for example, some of the antivirus like Webroot is that they come with the Web Shield and the DNS, right? So when you go into Google, for example, and you search something, then you'll be able to see whether that page has been hacked before or not. So that gives you a little bit of more clues. So that's called the Web Shield. And then the DNS is when you click on those links, then it will jump into a landing page that says, "Whoa, this site is blocked because it is known to have vulnerability. So those are pluses. If you're going to opt for antivirus, go for the best. So Kaspersky, very huge proponent of Kaspersky. I think it's one of the best antivirus out there, and not just me, but the entire community, cybersecurity community. Right. So, yeah. Any questions? Any comments, guys? Antivirus and protection and firewall, very important. All right. Let's see what else we have there.
Number 6.
He says, Waddell. Okay. All right. And he puts a little smiley face in there. All right. Okay. The next one over. So this one is super important, right?
Yes.
So why is this important? And I keep, this is one of the first things. I mean, it's tip number 6, but it should be, I think, much importance. I think the order of the factors here won't alter our product. I'm talking mathematically here. Multi-factor authentication is extremely important, because if you have Office 365, for example, or Microsoft 365, or even Google Workplace, which are the big 2 main entities out there for everything, basically, the whole productivity suites, and to be able to access your files and your email and all of that, multi-factor authentication, it is extremely important. Because you never know that a hacker from, let's say, Indonesia or India or Russia or anyone is attempting to log into your online access for Office 365, for example, or your Google Gmail, etc. Right? So you never know, and then what you see is deny, but then all of a sudden they're successful and they're able to get in.
Right.
With multi-factor authentication, even if your password is not as strong, as you have a weak password, they still won't be able to get in, because you have your cell phone, right, to be able to get into it as a second factor, right? So yeah, and then Cal also puts 2 thumbs up in there. Great, awesome, sir. Appreciate that. Okay, if you have any questions so far, if you have any comments, just put them on the chat. We'll display it on the screen. The next one over, and I think we talked about this, and this is something that it's hard to do, but it's you need to do it. If you're going to use a public Wi-Fi, there's 2 things that I do. Okay, and I like Starbucks. Don't get me wrong. I don't like Tim Hortons too much.
This is not a plug to Tim Hortons or Starbucks.
Hopefully, I won't get too much backlash on my statements, right? So I like strong coffee, right? So and then Daniel Young. Hey, Daniel. So Daniel
this is
Young.
not. We can't throw Starbucks under the bus here, guy.
Daniel Young, he used to work with us at Big Wire Technology. So hello, Daniel. It's been a long time, and he says Starbucks sucks. Okay, all right, okay, I get it. So, anyways, I like going and frequenting these places, right? So, and not just Starbucks and Tim Hortons, but other places. Every place out there, they do have Wi-Fi. If I go in, I use my phone and I tether from my phone into my laptop, right? As opposed to, that's much secure than using the free Wi-Fi. So that's the first thing that I would do. The second thing that I would do, if I don't have data or I don't have my phone with me and I need Wi-Fi, is VPN. VPN goes hand in hand with public Wi-Fi. So if you're using public Wi-Fi, get on the VPN and then use the public Wi-Fi. That way you are protected. You get encryption, end-to-end encryption. The main reason why it's not recommendable to use public Wi-Fi is because there could be a hacker snooping on the connection or on the transmission. That's called a man-in-the-middle attack. So you can have somebody listening in, right? So if the connection is not encrypted, they will take that information and they will be able to make sense of that and steal your data. The other thing that you need to be aware of is when you go into a place, let's say Tim Hortons, and then you look for the channels and you see Tim Hortons free Wi-Fi, and then right beside it, you see Tim Hortons free Wi-Fi again, or some other free Wi-Fi, you never know that it's actually a person inside of the coffee shop with a
Crazy.
computer
Exactly.
acting or spoofing a router, right? So you're logging into his computer, not the actual commercial place. So you got to be careful with that stuff, right? So
Bbots put something else on there, Dan, just replying to Daniel Young's cast.
replying to Daniel Young, that's for the cast. Okay, so he says VBots. He says
There you go.
dual factor authentication, love Duo. Yep. You should not be using admin accounts and have scripting disabled, especially PowerShell. Absolutely. Absolutely. Disable PowerShell. That is one of the main methods of hackers being able to get into the system and then escalate privileges. And then when that's escalated, then what they do is they try to disable everything. So they disable the firewall, they disable your defender or your antivirus. And the main method for doing that is using PowerShell because it's the easiest and it is the most the fastest to do it for hacker. Using command prompt is a little harder, but they can still get away with that. And then pivoting from place to place instead of a network, PowerShell. That is how the scripts are built, and the hackers use those scripts on PowerShell. So absolutely disable PowerShell. Another
Changiz basically.
Changiz says,
yeah, perfect.
Oh, wow. Yes, yes, absolutely. So nowadays, what's happening out there is that charging stations. So we were at a hotel last week, right, Andrew? And I remember that you wanted to charge your phone, and I'm like, no, take the charger, plug it into the wall.
Yeah.
Don't use the USB chargers inside of the hotel room. Just because you never know that little device is a charger, but it also collects the data and connects to your phone, and then is able to download data from your phone. And nowadays, this is getting a little kind of out of control because you can have charging cables that look exactly like a charging cable, but it is a hacking device, and you can buy them off some websites. I won't mention the websites, but you can buy them off the websites and just use them for pen testing, right? So avoid, charging stations. I remember that. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you still have it, but if you go to the mall, they used to have this little cabbies where you put your phone and then you charge it and then you close it and then you put a couple of coins. I don't know if you had it in Ottawa.
I haven't seen it. I remember. No, not that I remember.
Or they had a kind of like a whole bunch of charging stations, and then you just plug it in and just sit there for a while. Wait. Don't use that stuff, man. Don't use it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go on. So the next one over is we had multi-factor authentication. Do not use public Wi-Fi, and we only have 2 minutes. 8 minutes. 8 minutes on the clock, and so just if you are listening from LinkedIn and Facebook, make sure you go to youtube.com/GetCyber, subscribe to our channel, and of course visit us at rhino.io, rhino with a Y, right? So it's RHYNO.io. That's our website.
And you know what, to that point, it's really important that you guys reach out and ask us some questions. There's no charge to call us, for us to sit down for half an hour with your company and evaluate what you're going through, and be able to help you and guide you. It's really, really important that you guys understand that if you're a business owner out there, a small business owner, you have resources that aren't going to cost you anything to start. Get information, get informed, and get protected. That's the bottom line, and we're here to help you do that. And that's what this show is all about. It's just information.
Yes, absolutely. Changiz says something super important there. People can buy data blockers to use with a public charging station. Absolutely. You go to Amazon, they have some really good ones. And the other, talking about data blockers, there's also what do you call it? NFS blockers also. So if you have a wallet, for example, you can buy an NFS blocker. So it's like a little card that you put on your wallet and you're walking with it, and they won't be able to track your NFS on your wallet. So data blockers are super, super good. Yes, absolutely. All great tips, VBotics. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Yes, I really appreciate it. And you know what? It's also you. I mean, we have Changiz, we have Carl here, we have
Daniel.
VBotics giving really good information for you guys, because you're the owners, or you work for a small company and you need to be secure. So this is all for you guys. I really appreciate those comments. Keep them coming. We love those comments. Absolutely. This one is very important, and I think some people say, I don't need this. I just write my passwords on a piece of paper, like Andrew Somerton here. No offense.
The bottom of my computer. No, it's not true.
Literally, one day we were together. And we were at the office together, and I think this was a joke, because I couldn't
It was.
I'm like, do you know your password? I'm like, yeah. And then he lifted up his laptop, and he had written on a sticky note his password for his computer on the bottom of the computer.
True story. True story. But it was a joke, and we actually did we did a marketing video on it. So, but that's okay. Don't do it, because there's a lot of people out there that do it.
Yes. So the thing about password is that yes, every browser, so your Edge, your Chrome, Firefox, even your phones, they do have the ability to create passwords that are strong, and they use those passwords when you go into the websites and stuff like that. However, using a password management tool is actually very good, because first of all, the first thing that it does is you can use it in any device. So you have your app. We use LastPass. There's also Dashlane and etc. Right? You can have the app that interacts with your phone. So as soon as you create a password, for example, on your website using your computer, that's going to be available on your device also. And it works in every browser. So you go to Edge, you go to Chrome, you go to Firefox, and you can retrieve the LastPass password from there. It creates passwords for you on the fly, right? So you can tell the password to be 52 characters long if you want, and the complexity and all of that does it automatically, so you don't have to remember the passwords all the time. And the last thing that it does is, when you go into the portal, because they all have a little portal, it tells you your security level. So it tells you how many passwords are duplicated, and it tells you to change those passwords so you don't duplicate passwords. It tells you how many weak passwords you have and all of that. So all of those gadgets, I think, if you want to use the free versions, they're absolutely free for domestic consumptions. For example, LastPass has you can do it for free, right? But if you want to implement it in your company, I think it's like $4 a piece or something like that, or even cheaper. So what do you think about password managers, guys? Do you guys use password managers, and which one do you recommend? So I put that out there for you guys to reply on the chat, and maybe you can give me some insights into what you do in your stuff. All right. All right. So 12:57. So we got 3 minutes left. The last one, tip number 9, is something very important.
I think it's very important.
And it's not just because we are a cybersecurity company. Okay, don't get me wrong. We have a lot of partners that are MSPs, so managed service providers, that they do an incredible job in IT and security and stuff as well. And there's a lot of cybersecurity companies out there, and IT companies, even freelancer companies, that can help you, right? So the key is that don't take things on your own hands, right? Don't take things on your own hand. If you don't know how to do it, you might be doing a really bad job at securing your stuff. You might actually be doing the opposite, making yourself more vulnerable that you were, right? So hire the experts.
Dan, I think in regards to that too, also as an individual, if you're an IT specialist working in an organization, no one's going to look down at you if you hire a cybersecurity company to help you and guide you. We work so closely with a lot of companies that have IT teams or IT individuals that definitely don't have the cybersecurity expertise, but they have the IT expertise. So we collaborate really, really well together. So, if you need guidance, you need clarity, all because you're an IT person doesn't mean you're a cybersecurity person. So, working with the experts, whether you're a company, whether you're an IT individual, whether you're an MSP, I think goes hand in hand. And so definitely reach out to an organization like Rhino or another organization that's willing to work with you and guide you to help you and get you protected.
Yes. So VBotics says, I have several companies I use, and the password length is limited to 12 and 14 characters? How do I get them to up to up their security game and increase their password length? Yeah, so you can do that if you're if you are a Microsoft shop or a Google Workplace, you can do it in both places. You can up the strength, the length, and the complexity of the passwords, and you can also put dual factor authentication. So if you're limited only to 12 characters is not bad. Actually, it's a pretty decent password, 12 to 14 characters, as long as it's very complex, right? So you won't be able to get away with words and key phrases. You'll have to put like caps, numbers, and special characters, spaces, things like that, right? But if you are able to put longer passwords, make sure you can actually get away with not having a complex password, but a lot of words. So
Right.
you make up an entire sentence of unrelated words. For example, Andrew, computer, beach, Cape Breton, sun. It makes even though those are full words, they make the password very strong because they're completely different, and the length. Usually what we say in cybersecurity is not the complexity, it's the length that matters most, right?
From my understanding, if I read, and I don't quote me on this, but 16 plus is the ideal number. Anything over 16 is the ideal in length. I remember that from somewhere. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking 16 is the sweet spot for protection.
Yeah, if you have all kinds of characters and all of that, I think 12 will be suffice. And by the way, if 16 is for words that are entire words and in succession, right? You can always check the strength of your passwords by going online, and I think Kaspersky has a great tool. So look for Kaspersky password strength checker or something like that, and you'll be able to see it. You enter in there and it tells you the strength of your password, right? So like if it's hackable within 2 months, don't do it. If it's hackable with a couple years, don't do it. If it's hackable within a century, then that might be a good a good password for you. All right, thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Dan, before you wrap up, just put VBox the last comment, because I think it's critical. It's so true, and we encounter this all the time.
Yeah, he says experts can really augment your organization. Usually the IT person is overwhelmed. So always hire additional experts. And that's what we're here for, guys. Rhino Cybersecurity to the rescue. We're here to help you and work with your IT company, your IT person, or your MSP, your department. And that's what we do. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. Make sure you subscribe to our channel in YouTube. In GetCyber, right? YouTube GetCyber, and I hope to see you next week. Thank you, and have a great afternoon and weekend.
Have a great day, everybody. Thanks so much for joining.